The station drifted at the edge of a broken star system, its metal bones creaking softly, as if it remembered every battle it had survived and regretted all of them. Inside, alarms pulsed in lazy intervals, not urgent enough to demand panic, just persistent enough to annoy anyone still alive to hear them. He had been arguing with a repair drone for the last 10 minutes, waving a scorched toolkit like it had personally offended him. "I told you to fix the coolant valve, not philosophize about it," he muttered, kicking the drone lightly as it beeped in what sounded suspiciously like judgment. "You're a machine. Act like one." The drone responded by projecting a blinking error message directly into his face. He squinted at it, sighed dramatically, and walked straight through a door that should have required clearance he absolutely did not have. The room beyond swallowed the noise behind him. Silence settled like something alive. He didn't notice her at first. Why would he? People who accidentally wander into command chambers usually don't expect to find the most feared being in the galaxy standing right there, watching them like a paused thought. She stood tall, still as a statue carved from something older than fear itself. Her features were almost human, calm and unreadable, but the long, elegant ears that curved back from her head caught the dim light in a way that made it impossible to mistake her for anything familiar. He blinked once, twice. "Do you have better customer service than the robot outside?" he asked. The guards moved instantly, weapons lifting with precise, practiced motion. The air tightened, like the station itself was holding its breath. Somewhere in the distance, something metal groaned, as if it already knew how this would end. She didn't speak. Instead, she stepped forward, slow and deliberate, her gaze fixed on him with an intensity that could have crushed stars. He shifted awkwardly, glancing between her and the weapons pointed at him. "In my defense," he added, raising a hand slightly. The door was very open. "That feels like a design flaw." One of the guards tensed, clearly debating whether humor qualified as a threat. Her head tilted just slightly. It was a small movement, almost nothing, but in a galaxy that feared her name, it was the equivalent of an earthquake. "You are not afraid," she said at last, her voice quiet but carrying through the room with unnatural clarity. He hesitated, then shrugged. "I mean, I feel like I should be. It's just, I haven't caught up emotionally yet." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, impossibly, the silence changed. The guards did not lower their weapons, but they stopped moving, as if waiting for a command that refused to arrive. He noticed that first, not her. It gave him just enough confidence to keep talking, which, under the circumstances, was a questionable survival strategy. "So, is this the part where I get dramatically vaporized?" he asked, glancing around. "Or do you at least do warnings first?" She studied him in silence again, but this time it wasn't cold. It was focused, like she was trying to understand a language that shouldn't exist. "Your presence here is an error," she said. "Yeah, I get that a lot," he replied quickly. "Usually with paperwork." A faint shift passed through the room. One of the guards looked confused. Another looked mildly offended. She stepped closer, her gaze narrowing just slightly, not in anger, more like curiosity sharpening itself. "You speak without calculation," she said. "I tried thinking before talking once." He shrugged. "Didn't stick." For a second, just a fraction, something in her expression loosened. Not a smile, not even close, but the rigid perfection cracked enough to let something unfamiliar through. A sharp tone cut through the moment. The station lights flickered, then shifted to a dim red pulse. A holographic field ignited beside her, projecting a cluster of incoming ships marked in hostile signatures. "Great," he muttered, peering at the projection. "Please tell me those are friendly." "They are not," she answered calmly. "Of course they're not. That would have been too convenient." The guards immediately turned their attention to the display, awaiting orders. The tension returned, thick and immediate, pressing against the walls like an incoming storm. She didn't react right away. Her eyes moved between the fleet projection and the human standing far too casually in the middle of her command chamber. "Do you understand what approaches?" she asked. He leaned slightly, squinting at the hologram like it might explain itself better if he stared hard enough. "Angry triangles?" One of the guards actually made a noise, something between a cough and disbelief. She looked at him again, and this time the pause lasted longer. "They are here to destroy this station," she said. "Ah," he nodded slowly. "So, bad neighbors." Another flicker, they're gone. She turned away from him at last, her voice shifting, colder now, precise. Orders flowed from her like a controlled storm, each command executed instantly by the crew. Shields recalibrated, weapons aligned, engines awakened from their quiet drift. He watched it all, then leaned slightly toward the nearest console. "Just to be clear," he whispered, "I'm still not getting vaporized, right? Because this suddenly feels like a worse time for that." No one answered him, but no one shot him either, and somehow that felt like progress. The first blast struck before anyone finished their next sentence. The station shuddered, lights snapping into erratic pulses as the hostile fleet opened fire without ceremony. He grabbed the nearest console to steady himself, eyes wide. "Okay," he said quickly. "I take it back. Definitely worse time." She didn't look at him. Her voice moved through the chaos, precise, controlled, issuing commands that turned panic into motion. Shields shifted, absorbing what they could. Return fire lanced into the dark, carving brief lines of defiance. "They will not stop," one of the guards said. "They were never meant to," she answered. He looked at her then, really looked this time, not as the terrifying figure everyone feared, but as someone carrying something heavier than command. "You knew this was coming," he said. "I allowed it," she replied. "That's not comforting." Another impact. Harder. Systems flickered. A warning screamed through the air. "They believe I have weakened," she continued, her gaze fixed on the collapsing battle lines. "They believe fear must be restored." "And you're thinking about proving them right?" he asked. Her silence was answer enough. He stepped forward before he could talk himself out of it. "Or," he said, raising a hand like he was negotiating with gravity, "you could not destroy everything for once." Several weapons immediately pointed at him again. "Bad timing?" he added. She turned to him slowly. "If I do not act, this station falls. If you do act your usual way," he said, "everything else falls too. You don't have a reputation for half measures." Another explosion rattled the room. He flinched, then forced himself to keep going. "You said I don't calculate. Fine. Here's my uncalculated idea. What if you show them why you've been doing this instead of just deleting them?" "That is not how power functions," she said. "Maybe that's the problem." The words hung there, absurd and dangerous. For a moment it seemed like nothing would change. Then she turned back to the command interface, her hands hovering, not striking. "Open all channels," she ordered. Confusion rippled through the crew. But they obeyed. Her voice spread beyond the station, beyond the battle, into every hostile ship. Not a threat, not a command. Truth, coordinates, data, the hidden catastrophes she had been containing, the reasons behind every erase system. The silence she created had never been cruelty, it had been containment. The enemy fire faltered. Ships slowed. Confusion replaced certainty. He exhaled, blinking. "Ha!" he said. "Talking. Bold strategy." One by one, weapons powered down across the void. The room grew quiet again, but not the same silence as before. This one felt open. She stood still as if measuring something new. Then, finally, she looked at him. "You altered the outcome," she said. He shrugged, a little breathless. "I complained loudly in the right direction." A faint shift touched her expression again, closer this time to something almost real. Around them, the station stabilized. The battle had ended without annihilation. He leaned back against the console, letting out a long breath. "So, I'm guessing I'm still not getting vaporized." She regarded him for a moment longer. "No," she said. "Good," he nodded. "Because I feel like I just earned at least a warning system." And for the first time, she did not look like something the galaxy feared. She looked like something that had chosen differently.